If you remember this other video I made, you know that I brought up the Guides of the Lotus program. To those of you watching this video right now, you either have never heard of the Guides of the Lotus, which is actually a pretty normal response, or you know about the Guides of the Lotus but not exactly what they do. To put it short, the Guides of the Lotus program exists as a way for DE to have a 100% volunteer group of hand-picked players to serve as a fountain of knowledge for new players. On paper, there's nothing wrong with having a volunteer group designated purely for noob assisting. In reality, the GOTL program is a wasted opportunity to say the least. For starters, not many people are aware of their existence, or even of events they host. There is no resource in-game that tells new players where to find a Guide of the Lotus, unless they visit a relay, or even what a Guide of the Lotus is or what they do. Furthermore, the only place where a guide can be found is in a relay. The problem with that is, there's very little need for a new player to seek a guide for help. While it's true that the new player experience in Warframe is dogshit, that doesn't mean that the Guides of the Lotus advertising is any better. Put yourself in the position of a new player for a minute. If you are lost or confused over something in the game, what's the first thing you do? Google search? Ask in the in-game public chat? Ask a friend who already plays the game or clanmates who have recruited you already? There is not a single new player alive who has said, "Well, I don't know what to do. I guess I need to find someone whose sole purpose in existing is to help people like me." Hell no. When stuck, the natural response of a new player is to find a solution as quickly as possible to resume playing, whether that be by opening up Google, the forums, the subreddit, or even the Warframe wiki if they're aware that it exists. Even though it's cancer most of the time, the in-game region chat is more accessible and readily available to a new player than a Guide of the Lotus, not to mention that region chat has CodexBot, a chatbot whose sole purpose is to answer questions, something which guides are also supposed to do. New players aren't told about the Guides of the Lotus until they visit a very particular location in-game, and even then, that implies new players will even read the chat pop-up informing them about the Guides of the Lotus. Furthermore, to those who actually know about the guides, the program itself doesn't exactly have a good reputation, from people who used to be part of the program, people who are part of the program, and people who allege that the Guides of the Lotus program is nothing more than a tiny reward for spending more money than other players. I don't care how strict the application process for the GOTL program is, if you have current members saying there's a problem with the program, then there is very much a problem with the program. Is the Guides of the Lotus program itself a bad thing? Not necessarily. There are other games out there that have a far worse volunteer-based program, oftentimes paying their volunteers for what they do, making it less of a volunteering endeavor and more of a free currency generator, or granting their volunteers something that no regular player could ever access. In the case of Warframe, the exclusive shit that comes along with being a guide are purple cosmetics and purple-colored text if you are really good at doing whatever it is that guides do. Unless you happen to be a very vain person, this means nothing. However, when it comes to the task of helping new players, the GOTL program is anything but effective. That isn't to say that every guide is useless, because the few guides who I have met both in-game and out-of-game are quite pleasant people. It's just that Warframe is already known for having a relatively welcoming community, and as such, rewarding a small percentage of the community for not being toxic assholes seems rather pointless. If anything, wearing Guides of the Lotus cosmetics is the same thing as wearing a t-shirt that says, "I have been identified as a decent person, tell me your problems please." Let's not even take into account how some players don't even know about the GOTL program. If you go in-game right now and ask any player if they've ever been helped by a Guide of the Lotus, there is a 60% chance they'll say no or have no idea what a Guide of the Lotus is. Hell, the clan I happen to be a part of has over 750 members, and yet I can count on one hand the amount of players I've spoken with who even knows about the GOTL program. So besides just throwing out the program entirely, how could you fix the Guides of the Lotus program? Simple. Replace the Guides of the Lotus and give new players access to veteran players the moment they gain access to the star chart. This is an idea I like to call the mentor program, but I'll give a brief summarization. The instant that a new player is able to access the star chart, they gain access to the Help Me button in their menu screen. The new player will have this button in their menu until they reach Mastery Rank 7. If a new player pushes the Help Me button, a randomly selected volunteer player is placed in their squad, and remains there until the new player disbands the squad or no longer requires help. That's it. There are no exclusives to be had or rewards to be earned. The mentor program would exist only for those who genuinely wish to assist the noobs. The only prerequisites would be to not have a report history and to have a decent understanding of the game. In a game where the community is more than willing to help new players, recognizing and rewarding a select few for doing what most of the community does already without recognition is a rather stupid thing to do. The GOAT program can be so much more than what it already is, but in its current iteration, it might as well be nothing more than the Super Best Friends Club. The point here is, if your volunteer program is not very well established as an actual thing in the game, then nobody will use it for help, therefore rendering its existence rather dull and meaningless, even more so considering that most regular players do a better job of being guides than the guides themselves do. Thank you for watching.